I'm really okay being vulnerable as far as I'm aware. Like when I self-assess, I have no problem crying. Back to your point around that study with Brene Brown. I'm not familiar with that study, so I'm going to be speaking from an external place, like sort of out here, not being familiar with the intricacies of the study itself.
She just talks about it in her Power of Vulnerability talk.
She mentions
book,
it
in her book. She writes.
Well, I would say if I was to, I'm going to make a bet here. If I was to say, if any one of you became, all things being equal, like if you're bringing massive amounts of volatility, of course your partner's going to feel unsafe. If your partner did that to you, even as a man, you would feel, emotionally unsafe.
Right.
But if you're just being emotional, do you think your partner, and you're being honest, do you think your partner is going to perceive you closer? Like they're going to feel safer with you or unsafe? They're going to feel safer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're women that have done deeper work. They're more mature. They're more aware. You guys have a different connection. I don't think that's applicable to most people. Because women, generally speaking, are not accustomed to a man being emotional. They will interpret that as something that is, he can't be trusted.
Or manipulation.
Or it's manipulation. Yeah. Or it's he's not stable. I can't be with someone that's not stable. Like all the rhetoric that comes with that. And so that's another conditioning that we have, right?
It's like a layer on. It's like a risk that you take as a man that I don't think most women register with, right? No. Like, it is a risk. I talked about this when in my book I wrote about the myth of male vulnerability, and I talked about how there's such an inherent risk for me to open up, even if it's to you or my wife or anybody, right? There's like an inherent risk, but especially with women, and especially in like the early parts of the dating phase, it's like, that's
you could lose it real
one.
quick.
You'd lose it. I mean, I've experienced that. Like I remember dating a woman that I was super into. And I opened up and I was vulnerable, and she was gone. Like within a week, I was like relationship terminated, and I was like, oh man.
It does one of two things.
It validates. Yeah.
It does that, and then we have a choice to either retract or stay stronger into
it's
our
path.
It's
not me, it's her, can't hold that, whatever.
Whatever
I think also the other side of that too is that when you are in that state of emotionality, if it is unintegrated emotion, like I think when
messy vulnerability.
Yeah, I think when you're like crying with your partner or someone you're dating, but it's because you actually haven't gone to the depths of your grief, your pain, your rejection, your abandonment. Because you haven't gone to the depths of your own emotionality. You're like hoping your wife or your partner can hold something you haven't. And of course, an integrated, someone who has space for that can participate in the healing of the witnessing of you. And it doesn't matter the gender of the human, that's important. But man, I think so much when men start to touch emotion in the container space with a partner, it's not been met. Like it's never been held. And that's why I think healing with men is so important.
And that's why, and you touched on this earlier, Connor, you touched on this too, Danny, around, okay, if I can't be that with my wife, then I'm going to bring that to my men. And they're going to hold me. They're going to witness me. I'm going to be vulnerable with them, and they're going to ideally meet me with compassion, with non-judgment. They're going to call me forward. They're going to challenge me in healthy ways, but they're not going to shame me. And I think that's what we're missing in our world, the shame piece.
Yeah.
I should say, we're shaming each other way too much. I mean, and that's because our own self-worth is so low.